Greetings. My name is Mike Levis, and I'm an instructor with the Mount Hood Ski Patrol Avalanche Program. In this module, we will discuss organized rescue. We will start with a discussion of the management functions and then discuss the organized rescue process. As we have discussed previously, in Avalanche Level 2, the emphasis is on leadership. During our field session, each of you will get the chance to fill the leadership functions discussed here in our rescue scenarios. The organized rescue management structure is based on the incident command system. This module will review the management functions defined in the ICS and describe how they might apply to an avalanche mass casualty incident. We'll also review a typical mass casualty protocol that you might find at one of the local resorts. This will be the basis for our breakout sessions and field activity. You've all seen this slide in previous modules. As we mentioned previously, organized rescue typically has many more resources available to apply to the rescue at the cost of time. It can often take hours until organized rescue resources actually can get on site. Preparation and staging are key to reducing response time in organized rescue. Having resources identified in advance to fill critical management functions and having equipment staged for rapid deployment can dramatically reduce our response time. So where might organized rescue be needed? This slide lists mass casualty events that would require organized rescue and identifies the probable lead rescue organization. The events we will be most concerned with are inbound avalanches and side country avalanches. Typically, ski patrol resources will take the lead in these rescue efforts. In the other scenarios, the ski patrol may still be involved, but usually in a more supporting role. The main characteristics of all of these events is that there are many victims, more than can be handled by the resources on scene. So let's discuss from a high level the stages of an organized rescue. This will be a summary of the process. We will go into this in a lot more detail in our breakout sessions. The rescue event starts with the initial report of an avalanche with victims. This report can come via phone call to the resort or from witnesses reporting to a patroller directly, for example. However the report comes in, the dispatch must be notified. Dispatch will activate the ICS system. In all cases, hold on to the reporting party and any witnesses. Do not let them leave. If the report is coming in via phone, get the name, location, and phone number of the reporting party ASAP, and keep them on the line if possible. Note there should be a checklist in dispatch for use with the reporting party to capture all relevant information. Once the call comes in, the appropriate authorities need to be notified and the incident command system activated. Appropriate authorities is resort and location dependent, but usually will include resort management and the local sheriff department. Activating the incident command system starts with identifying the incident commander. As mentioned previously, the specific person who will fill the incident command role should be identified at the beginning of each patrol shift. Usually this will be the patrol director or the resort risk management leader. There should be a predefined avalanche MCI plan. At this stage, the plan will become operational under the command of the incident commander. The search for victims now starts. The search efforts will typically involve the deployment of a rapid response team, followed by the deployment of a secondary response team. The rapid response team is tasked with getting on scene as fast as possible with a core of resources, typically 3 to 5 people, to assess the situation and start rescue activities. The secondary response team is significantly larger with more resources based on reports from witnesses and the rapid response team. The secondary response team will typically include many more medical resources to treat victims on scene and coordinate evacuation. Once the rescue is complete, the effort will shift into a drawdown phase where all personnel and equipment return to base. This will usually include a post-event debrief and lessons learned, as well as any psychological first aid needed by rescuers. Let's discuss key management functions in an avalanche MCI. The key management functions are based on the ICS Incident Command System management structure. The incident commander has overall responsibility for all aspects of the emergency response. Reporting to the incident command functions are the operations chief, the planning chief, the logistics chief, and the finance chief. Note, in many avalanche responses, these functions may not be present or may be combined based on the scale of the emergency. For example, the incident commander may act as the operations chief directly. So let's look at how a typical avalanche response maps into the ICS structure. This slide shows how a typical avalanche response activity maps into the ICS structure. This mapping is driven by the size and duration of a typical avalanche emergency. For example, many avalanche emergencies do not last longer than 24 hours, so logistics and planning for a multi-week activity are not needed. In many cases, as the diagram indicates, the incident commander will act as the operations chief. In this role, the rapid response team lead, the secondary response team lead, and the medical team lead would all report directly to the incident commander. In this scenario, the logistics chief would primarily be responsible for transportation resources. For example, if snowmobiles are needed to get the secondary response team and gear to and from the avalanche site. The planning and admin functions are mainly involved in the development of the AVI response plan, not so much in the actual incident response activity. The planning chief needs to make sure the plan exists and coordinate with other agencies, for example, the sheriff department, as appropriate. Let's talk about the roles and responsibilities of the ICS management functions. This slide outlines the duties of the incident commander. As we mentioned, the incident commander has overall responsibility for all avalanche response resources. The incident commander identifies and selects key leadership team members, rapid response team leader, logistics chief, secondary response team lead, etc. The incident commander should interview the witness directly if possible and assign a scribe/witness wrangler to make sure the witnesses do not disappear. The physical location of the incident commander can move as needed. It can be at the resort or at the scene of the accident, depending on needs. The incident command candidate should be identified in advance, and the incident commander for any given patrol shift should be identified at the beginning of the shift. In most resort-driven responses, the incident commander will be the patrol director. The operations chief is responsible for all aspects of the response. This includes identifying search team leaders, site commander, response dispatch, scribes, etc. The operations chief implements the search and rescue plan during the incident. In most cases, the role of operations chief will be combined with the incident command, and one person will fill both roles. The next two slides describe the role and responsibility of the logistics chief. In more complex multi-agency incidents, the logistics chief can have a broad scope, including setting up command post facilities, designating staging areas, etc. In most avalanche emergencies, the logistics chief will focus heavily on transportation resources. How will the rescuers get to and from the scene? Will helicopters be needed for patient transport? Will facilities be needed for overnight activity? Where will transportation resources be staged? How will transportation resources be tracked and allocated during the response? Will specialized communications resources, for example, sat phones, be needed? Will dogs need to be transported and housed during the incident? The role of logistics chief will most often be filled by the mountain operations manager. The planning chief is responsible for making sure there is an avalanche response plan prior to an event. In most resort settings, this role will be filled by the risk management or snow safety officer. The planning chief is responsible for creating the avalanche atlas for the area, indicating where historically there have been avalanches. This will drive the creation of the response plan, since resource requirements, transportation, and staging all may be dependent on where avalanches occur. The planning chief is also responsible for coordinating plans and planning activity with other agencies, for example, the sheriff or local search and rescue teams. The planning chief is also responsible for defining training standards and plans for emergency response personnel and for maintaining training records. As you can see, most of the planning chief's activity happens prior to any avalanche event. The admin chief is responsible for creating the budget for emergency response activities and for paying the bills associated with an MCI response. Typically, this will be someone in the finance area of the resort. The Rapid Response Team lead reports to the Operation Chief and leads the initial rescue activity. The Rapid Response Team lead selects the Rapid Response Team, ensures the appropriate equipment is ready to go, and heads out to the scene. Once on scene, the Rapid Response Team lead will ensure the scene is safe, interview the witness, assign tasks to the team, and start the search. The goal is to get to the scene as quickly as possible, assess the number of victims and resources required, and report back to the incident command. The Rapid Response Team lead will become the site commander and manage all resources when the secondary resource team arrives. The secondary response team lead manages the bulk of on-site rescue resources. This includes extra searchers, medical resources, dogs, and the like. The secondary response team lead, with the medical lead, will set up a triage area and staging area as needed. The medical lead arrives with the secondary response team and brings all needed medical supplies. The medical lead will set up the triage area and manage patient triage. The medical team lead will determine patient transportation requirements. The transportation lead can be remote or on-site. This will typically be someone from Mountain Knobs. The transportation lead is responsible for managing all transportation resources, snowmobiles, snowcats, helicopters, and so forth. This includes tracking where all resources are located during a response. There are other functions that may be needed based on the nature of the incident. Public information officer, agency liaisons, and the like can be added as needed, although people to fill these roles should be identified in advance. All report to the incident commander. This slide lists some other considerations that need to be thought through in any response. In most cases, normal resort operations will continue in areas not affected by the avalanche. Who will support this? A dedicated communication channel for emergency response activity will be needed. This should be defined as part of the emergency response plan. In general, pre-planning is key. Personnel for key roles should be identified in advance. Equipment should be pre-staged and ready to go, and there should be a dress rehearsal a couple of times a year to make sure everyone knows their role in the plan. Checklists are key. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to forget a critical step. There should be checklists for all key leadership roles. There should be a witness interview form to make sure all information is obtained and recorded. There should be predefined forms to document everything. If there is a possibility of multi-agency response, Incident Command will need to span all relevant agencies. Planning and training activity should reflect this and include all internal and external organizations. Some thought should be given as to requirements if operational period spans multiple days. Food and housing, both for people and dogs, now become issues. Once the event is over, there needs to be a formal drawdown. All personnel need to return to base and be accounted for. All equipment needs to be inspected and replenished for the next deployment. All non-rescue personnel need to be accounted for. This includes any patients, witnesses, or bystanders who help with the rescue. There should be a formal post-incident debrief with psychological first aid resources available for any rescuers who need them. This brings us to the end of our discussion of management functions. Let's move on and discuss rescue planning.